Here's a sample analysis using the terms that we've learned in this module for the analysis of literature. We'll use a poem by the American poet Emily Dickinson, A Narrow Fellow in the Grass. The first thing to notice about this work is that it's divided into stanzas, that is, groups of lines. I can see on the page that the stanzas each have 4 lines per stanza. That's a handy element of organization to take note of. A work of literature that's prose rather than a poem wouldn't have these formal divisions. The next thing I can look at is for the end rhyme, the rhyme scheme. A narrow fellow in the grass occasionally rides. There's no rhyme there. You may have met him, did you not? Well, that doesn't rhyme with anything else either. His note is sudden is. Well, that's not quite like rides. That's I, long I, is a short I. That's not very helpful. Maybe this poem doesn't have any rhyme at all. If I look down at the 3rd stanza, he likes a boggy acre, a floor too cool for corn, no rhymes yet. Yet when a child and barefoot, still no rhymes, I more than once at morn. Oh, finally! The 2nd and 4th lines in the 3rd stanza do rhyme. If I look at the 2nd and 4th lines in each stanza, rides is, well, seen, on, similar consonant sounds, but the vowels are different. Corn, morn, there's a rhyme. Sun, gone. Again, a consonant sound at the end of the word that's the same, but not a rhyme. Me, cordiality, there's a rhyme. Alone, bone. There seems to be a rhyme scheme hinted at in this poem, but it's not firm, it's not completely regular. I'll keep track of that. What about the meter of this poem? A narrow fellow in the grass occasionally rides. Weak strong, weak strong, weak strong, weak strong. This poem has a consistent meter, that is, the pattern of weak, strong is consistent, so it's iambic. But I notice that there's not a consistent number of feet in each line. A narrow fellow in the grass. There's 4 feet in that first line, tetrameter. Occasionally rides. Only 3 syllables. So we have an alternating pattern of 4 feet and 3 feet, not syllables, feet. That part of the poem, indeed, is consistent from stanza to stanza. As a matter of fact, this alternating length of line and this hinted at or obvious rhyme scheme is often called a hymnal stanza, and we see it commonly in works of Emily Dickinson. She's imitating the construction of poetry used in Protestant hymns, common in New England in the 19th century. What about the other images and subject and subtext and voice of this poem? I see that she uses the word you. She seems to be talking to me, the reader. But I also see that she uses the word I. So she's telling me her point of view. This poem is told in first person. It doesn't seem to be written in any particular linguistic style or dialect. It's kind of standard English. What about the subject and the images? She's talking about some fellow who's riding in the grass. Is that an image, or is she just talking about some guy that she sees in a meadow? I'd better explore this further. This narrow fellow, skinny, I guess, in the grass. The grass divides as with a comb. As if somebody's using a comb on it, the grass splits one side to another. A spotted shaft is seen. Is this the fellow? Is this not a person? Is this some sort of animal? Well, there's more evidence to see what this poem is about. whoever this is likes a boggy acre, that is, a marsh or a swamp. A ground that's cool. It's too cool to grow things in, like growing corn. And in fact, she has made the mistake of thinking that she's seeing a whiplash, a piece of leather lying on the ground. But whatever this fellow is, it looks like a whiplash, and then it was gone. Hey, wait a minute. I know. The subject of this poem is a snake who lives in the grass. He lives in marshy ground. And maybe it's a black or brownish colored snake that looks like a piece of leather or whiplash. Maybe like a rat snake or something. So that's the subject of this poem. The imagery used to help describe the subject, well, he's described as a fellow, a narrow fellow. It's almost as if he's like some sort of soldier riding in the grass, but he's a very skinny soldier. We see him passing by the way the grass divides. What about subtext? And point of view? How does Emily Dickinson feel about this serpent? She seems to be uneasy with him. I can tell that by the 5th stanza, or perhaps the last stanza. I never met this fellow, attended or alone, without a tighter breathing, and 0 at the bone, feeling chilled. So she doesn't like snakes. But what more? Maybe she just doesn't like animals at all. Maybe she'd just rather stay inside and not hang around in nature. It's too messy, too many animals, all kinds. Bugs, snakes, rabbits, I don't care. I don't want any of them. Well, as a matter of fact, she says in the 5th stanza, several of nature's people I know, and they know me. So she's used to going out and hanging out with animals. And she says, I feel for them a transport of cordiality. That is, I feel cordial to them. I like these other animals. But this one creature, the serpent, the snake, is the one that makes me breathe a little bit faster, feel a little afraid, and chilled to the bone. The subject of the poem is about a snake. The subtext of the poem is about the basic fear that many people have of something like a snake compared to other animals. The structure of this poem is that of a 4-line stanza with regular metrical patterns of iambs, and with a hinted rhyme scheme in the 2nd and 4th lines. I can leave that analysis there, or, having thoroughly examined this poem, I could then compare it to another example in another medium of the arts.